Hello, I'm Gary Allen. Welcome to a new setting. In the backyard today, we have a couple things in store. We're going to design and install a little sidewalk, as well as give this backyard some enhancement on today's Designer's Landscape. We begin with our sidewalk design, and we want to initiate that or start it here through the gate and really heading towards you, wrapping around the palm tree that exists and coming to the back of the screen door. Something like that. Okay? Then you're at the back door. The only thing we need to connect also, in addition to that, is down to this central gate that goes through the back. Now, with these 3 points then, we've connected 1, 2, and 3. I just need to take the gate with the walk and head through to the side gate, meandering up along here, right through our intersection where they 3 come together, and continuing in this nature. Yeah, it's amazing. Now, this is an idea or a concept. I see I got a little too narrow here, so we need to widen that where need be. Sidewalk design. Again, if we didn't have anything, the homeowners would end up really wearing out the turf grass between here and there. So this sidewalk, we're going to use a brick paver, and it's going to help give us this courtyard feel or appearance. I think you'll see. As far as the corners and the fence, well, we're going to round those out and get some flow moving through here. Friends, I want you to meet Brian Collins of Citystone, whose handiwork we get to talk about now. It's like you guys just magically put this thing together.
Oh, it's always a work of art when it's all done.
It looks really good. Brian, tell us the procedure and everything for installing a walkway like this.
Usually the first thing you want to do is you want to get with the homeowner and see what kind of design they want. This particular homeowner wanted some curves and radiuses. So the first thing we did is we kind of came in and laid it all out, removed the sod, you know, kind of scraped it down a little bit. You generally want to get your sod and your dirt, whatever you're going to remove, you want to be about 4 inches below your finished grade.
So we're recessed in instead of the walk just sitting out of the ground.
We want to be level with the yard and everything else in the surrounding areas. So we came in, you know, removed the sod, removed the dirt down to a level, and then we bring in what we call as a setting bed.
Yeah, describe that material to us because it looks unique.
Well, the setting bed, what we use is called 919 sand. And it's a little mixture of sand and crushed up lime rock and little gravel. So as you put it in and compact it, it gets hard. It really serves as a very suitable base. Yeah,
and that's kind of the critical level. You guys, that bed being level is where you begin, where it all starts?
Oh yeah, that's about the most important thing, is having that setting bed level.
So how do you know where to start in the pattern, though?
Well, generally what we did here is it came off the porch. We started off the porch, setting our pavers and working our way toward each of the gates.
Okay.
Like we started here, we started carrying it, and the first thing we did was we laid out the border.
So you started with the border here?
Yeah, so that we could get the radiuses and the look that the homeowner was looking for. So after we set the first outside border, then we started setting the field.
You're calling that the center and how it fills in here.
Right. And the field bricks, these particular stones are called an Apian stone. They're 6 inches wide, 9 inches long. It gives you a nice old world look.
Okay.
So we started with those and started up there and worked our way down, and then worked our way out to the other gate, keeping with the radius.
Brian, I really like the way you've done these ends. I mean, the artwork here on these radiuses are really quite unique, and they tie into the fence.
Right. That was one of the homeowners' looks. Everything on her fence has a nice little radius turn. So what we did was tried to keep that and still stay centered within the gate.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, I see the complexity and making all these cuts.
Right.
Quite a bit of art there.
Quite a bit of work too. When you have a tight little radius like that, it takes a lot of work and a lot of time to keep cutting the brick and bring them around.
Uh-huh. Okay, and what ensures maybe the longevity or the integrity of this walk?
Well, what's really going to hold it in place is after it's been set in and cut in, what we do is we come in and we'll dig a little trench along the outside, and we mix a little sand and Portland together, and that goes down into the dirt and about halfway up on the brick, so that when you come in and landscape or mulch, it'll cover it all up and you won't see it, and that really stops it from sliding out or going away.
Okay, so that, like I said, that keeps the integrity, the borders held in, and everything else stays together.
Yeah,
over
exactly.
the long run.
The concrete's what really locks it into place.
I got you. A beautiful little walk. How would you rate the complexity of this, say from a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, this particular job, I would probably give an 8.
Really?
Not for the size of it, but before all the radiuses.
Okay.
You know, setting a straight brick and a straight pattern is real simple and real easy. Here we have a lot of radiuses, which in turn we had a lot of cuts to go with the radiuses.
What I find neat as a designer is I got to do the easy part, lay out the pattern, and you guys, it seems like magically just make it all come together.
Right.
Brian, we appreciate your handiwork, and I know the homeowners have commented already on how much they like this and how it adds to our courtyard appearance here.
Yeah, I think it blends in well. The colors that they chose a gray and natural blend for the field, which goes well with their deck and their areas around. And to really accent that, we brought in these charcoal bricks, and those go along the border. They bring out the darkness in the field and also accent the lightness of the field.
A great looking job.
Thank you.
As you can see, some of our plant varieties have arrived, so I'm going to invite you to come up a little closer and we take a look at varieties that we really haven't used too often, a couple new specimens. Up close, Galphimium glauca, which is commonly known as Thryallis. This medium shrub, we'll call it, has this beautiful yellow spike-like type flower that's also very fragrant, so that will help in some of the areas where we need taller plants there. And a little bit marginal for this area because it can get tip burn, so doesn't like the cold weather, if you will. Now, something that also flowers all summer long is the bush daisy. Isn't that a beautiful color? These are loaded with flower and loaded with buds as well. Full sun, and we can depend on these getting, say 3 to 4 foot overall height, and you can keep them pruned, but we love this daisy-like flower that is going to add to our landscape plan or picture. We're mixing up our foliage colors that we like to do, using some of the burgundy where we have an opportunity to. Not so dependent again on flower color, but look at this lovely lavender lantana. Now, you see us use the gold lantana quite a bit. And what I love about these, the buds that are so tight are such an intense lavender or purple color, and then as they radiate out into full bloom, they lighten up, so to speak. But again, we can count on these staying low as a ground cover and blooming all through the warm season. Finally, a new plant for us that I really haven't seen in the landscape quite a bit is SERISSA foetida, but a variegated variety. Don't you like the nice, tight, compact growth habit that this plant displays? And then the variegation color gives us contrast also. You can tell by the dense, tightly compaction that we have here that this plant won't get 3 to 5 feet tall. No, just a couple feet or so in overall height. It shapes and hedges really well. And I like this independent globular or round type look. With the variegation, it has a small star-like flower that's not so significant, but when they bloom, it's another light little touch to the landscape. So we look forward to using these in our picture as well. Let's return to our backyard courtyard setting and see how we're going to apply the usage of these plant varieties. With our beds cleaned out, it again takes on this initial shape. The sidewalk is not only impressive, but look how we've, again, trimmed out some of the corners here. We had a palm tree here that we removed and took it out of the center of the yard. All this hard mowing and edging now has become simple. We just leave the curves in here with no objects in the grass that we have to navigate around. So we'll look forward to putting these curves to work. The guys are planting an East Palatka holly here up close to the house, and we'll use 2 more as a formal setting outside this gate, one on the left and one on the right. And you see back here on the corner we've installed a weeping willow. Now this seems to tie in with the trend around the water. Many of the neighbors here have added their willow, so at the homeowner's request too, we placed one in. And 2 live oaks here, caddy corner. Now, is that too close to the house for an oak tree? Well, you're standing under an oak, and the idea here, or concept, is we're in a western exposure. I mean, hot afternoon heat. So we want these trees to get up tall in a big canopy that we can trim and walk underneath and let them provide some shade here. What do you say we get some plants and start setting up our curves and see how that'll come together? I've started with the SERISSA foetida. Instead of the taller plants here, I'm going with what works for me first. We've got 10 of these, and so I really picked the location where we want these. So I've set them up to kind of start to get that movement or flow, so to speak. And there's another thing I think is interesting. We're going to start with our low plants close to the walk, and then just see how the corners and everything work their way out with the tall plants. So maybe in reverse. Also, since all plants are not created equal, I've chosen some of the nice full varieties and placed them close to the walk over here. And these that aren't pruned so well maybe are shaped initially, kind of hide or concealed in the center of this line. Now with the light green or variegation we have in there, this iris will look pretty good as a backdrop against it. So we'll consider some placement of some of them. And then down front, remember, we talked about kind of finishing out our little impression by the walkway. Let's use the lavender lantana and kind of traipse it around the palm tree. We'll plant these up a little high and mulch around them, but this will be our color heading in this direction. We often talk about color and contrast in the landscape, but let's spend a moment just talking about a texture. In other words, the way a plant feels, it's the size of its leaf and the shape and overall kind of feeling we get from it. These are 2 similar textures. In other words, the grassy appearance of the Aztec, the grassy appearance of the foxtail or red fountain grass are similar. And we see that even though we have color or contrast, I don't know that I would put these 2 together because of their similarity in texture. So we set this up, we took a look at it. Now look what we've come up with. Using the same color, the razzleberry pizzazz type foliage, the purple or burgundy here, we have our same contrast in color, but a different texture. So it feels different rather than similar. Does that make sense? Now we have the same opportunity or presentation to kind of talk about over here by the other gate. Now the Serissa is our focal plant here. So we've come in with the boxwood underneath it or alongside of it. A small leaf, but not as small. And then look at the color contrast there. Whereas if we had just Ilex vomitoria shillings, you see the similarity. Even though we get color contrast, the texture is the same. A mounded shrub with a very tiny, fine leaf. So what do? Well, we could use the boxwood, which looks good. Let's go to another point. The blue Pacific juniper. Watch how this not only provides a little bit of a texture difference, even though they're both fine, look at the color difference. The contrast is there. So, I think we'll go with the juniper. we thought we'd take a moment and talk about this fence. Since the fence is inside the property line, it has inside corners and outside corners. That makes it fairly unique. And it's not a privacy fence. The aluminum, looking like wrought iron, has got an open feeling to it. So you see down the fence line, the daisies that we put on this inside corner, we really need to extend that line outside here, and that's what we're going to work on now. Basically, since we can see inside and out as you viewed, let's continue just a smooth curve radius of our daisies, the bush daisies, that'll connect the circle from inside to out. So I want to kind of pick up a line right through the fence that'll line us up with that other one and come right towards you in a circle. Bring them right on around. Again, you'll be able to view the daisies, the bush daisies here, from inside and out. And so I would ask you, is this not one way to round off a corner, both inside and out, giving you a little more presentation? Instead of having separate plants, we've poked through the fence and made a beautiful view. Come on down, because as we're working now with the outside of the fence, we come thin in some areas, so that's going to call for smaller type plants like our Aztec and Iris. And we still like this being able to see through here. But we've installed 2 other East Palatka hollies here. And can you see the tie-in now? 1, 2, 3, and the third one behind me. And really, does it not add a little bit of presentation value to the gate here? A pretty picture, both from where I'm looking and hopefully where you're viewing. There's one other thing we look at as we talk about through the fence concept. You see the razzleberry on the inside. Can we improve on that and help it to run out underneath the holly trees? I think looking down the fence line, you'll be able to see what we're trying to achieve here. And that is the razzleberry on the inside is very nice, pretty, full. And then look at this outside. We need, since the fence we can see through it, we need to carry that right over into here. And so I think this is going to really give us that 3D again that we're looking for. Instead of changing up to a certain plant type or a new variety, it only makes sense to keep it simple and keep the continuity there. Now there's one other place I want to approach that's close to you there. Can we do the same thing with the Aztec grass? Now what I want to do with the Aztec here in this double row is knock it through the fence and come towards you so that we continue this line like that, you see? Let's set a few of those up. See if we can, again, connect the dots traveling through the fence, kind of out and around. Need a few more to make that curve. Connecting through the fence. When you see us mulching, it's because we're getting close to the end. And our choice here is a grade A eucalyptus mulch. And rather than mulch chips, this is shredded, so you get a more consistent product, and then it's actually dyed so that it resists the fading from the ultraviolet sun. Good looking stuff. Now, wasn't that a fun project? By the way, feel free to put a curve or two into your yard. For the Designer's Landscape, I'm Gary Allen. I'll see you soon.